Welcome to Cigar Church, where our passion for cigars and our love for Jesus collide. To my right, I've got my friend Alan, and we are in his shop, 2nd Street Cigars in Edmond, Oklahoma. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But my name's Clay. I'm a pastor here in Oklahoma City. Love cigars. Love to talk about Jesus. And to my left, I've got
Dan, otherwise known as Nicky D.
I'm Steve, and I got to get something off my chest here. I'm a little jealous.
Okay. What's
jealous.
going on, Steve?
Well, we got a nickname over here, Nicky D. You're sometimes, nickname or not, Pastor Clay. Whether you like it or not. Is what,
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I need a nickname.
Oh. Do you have one in mind?
Well, I know you sometimes call me the Beard, which I kind of like.
The Beard.
Dan sometimes call me Big Sexy, which I'm not sure what I feel about.
It's a little weird, Dan.
Makes me a lot uncomfortable.
That might or might not be true.
You know, it's not that it's okay to be called Big Sexy, right?
Yeah.
It's the way he says it. It's the
And by another
Big
man.
Sexy.
Yeah.
Big Sexy.
I think I'm more
Yeah,
so
we got to
the
come
Beard.
up with a name. So if you've got a good name for
Be nice.
Steve-O over here, be nice, be creative.
Yeah.
Put it in the comments. We would love to have a nickname for Steve. Just be gentle because he's a sensitive guy, even though he's got the beautiful beard.
I'm thinking Beardy McBeardface, maybe.
I don't know. I think that's taken. I think that's taken.
Yeah, I think it was a boat.
Yeah. Be quiet, Nicky D. No, we're good. And like I say, to my right is Alan. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your love for cigars.
Yeah, my name is Alan Cook. I'm the owner of 2nd Street Cigar Company in Edmond, Oklahoma. I live in Edmond. I go to church down in Moore,
Yeah.
another suburb of Oklahoma City if you're not from here. Southgate Baptist Church down in Moore. Been there my whole life. Involved in the music ministry down there, play guitar in the church, sing in the ensemble and the choir. Love Jesus. Been there my whole life. My parents go there. My whole family. It's fantastic. But I also love cigars, and so owning a cigar shop is pretty amazing. So
Very cool. Very cool.
my
And this
cigar
guy,
collection grew.
it grew
You know what I mean?
exponentially, right? This guy can sing too. He's got just the voice of an angel.
Well,
Got it.
Phones.
Yeah, we got microphones. You want to do a little my way here? No.
But
yeah.
I think the question we all need to know: do you have a nickname?
Or can you grow a beard?
do what?
Can you grow a beard?
Wow.
Man, this is this is a lot of trying.
You're picking on our guest of honor
No,
today. Our guest of honor gets picked on. Hey, so as we're starting things off today, what's everybody smoking? You want to start us off,
I'll
Dan?
start us off. I am smoking the Espinosa Murcielago. It's a nice full-bodied cigar. It's really good. I really enjoy these. Pretty peppery, a lot of pepper in them. Some cocoa notes for sure, with a little nuttiness as you get on into the stick.
That's appropriate for you. Little nutty.
That's true. But,
Yeah.
but it's a great stick. It does have imagine this, a Nicaraguan binder and a
There you go.
Nicaraguan
Nicky
filler
D.
with a Mexican wrapper, I believe. So it's a great stick. The guys down in Espinosa know what they're doing.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Steve, what are you smoking?
Today I got 8P Carrillo Encore Black. We'll talk about it a little bit more here a little later. We do some new releases we're going to talk about. So
Yeah, absolutely.
so far, very good cigar.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Alan, what do you want?
Plasencia Alma Fuerte.
Ooh, excellent. That's a mouthful.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, those are phenomenal cigars. Why do you like that? What's so good about it?
Just the flavor, man. It's so smooth and it's a great
Consistently
cigar.
good.
Consistent, any time of the day.
Yeah.
You can smoke in the morning at night. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that's a wonderful cigar. I'm smoking the Jake Wyatt cigar, from Jake Wyatt, the Fourth Dimension, a little boutique company that a friend of mine turned me on to. If you guys know Espinosa guy over here, smoking the Murcielago from Espinosa, one of their more famous or well-known reps was a guy named Tony Gomez. He left Espinosa about a month ago and is now with Jake Wyatt. And of course, because I trust his take on cigars and his profiling of cigars, wanted to see what he was doing and why he left such a great company to go to another company, and so jumped on these Jake Whites because of that, and they are phenomenal. The work that they put into them, just the beauty, it's like a work of art, the way that they do the wrapper on it. It's a Habano Rosado wrapper with Dominican filler and binder in it. Just a smooth cigar, very easy to smoke, very light. For me, at least on my flavor profile, it's a light cigar, and so it's definitely one that's an enjoyable cigar for me. So good selection. That's kind of a broad selection today, guys. So one thing that we want to talk about today, we recognize that some of you are very new to cigars, some of you are veteran cigar smokers, Just sitting at this table, we've got guys that have smoked anywhere from 5, 10, 15 years or more. I don't know, how long have you been smoking, Alan?
Oh man, it started with the Swisher Sweets back in the late '90s.
We don't count that.
We don't count those.
We don't count gas stations.
Yeah, I mean, my first cigar was a Swisher Sweet.
Oh, yeah.
And driving, I was 16, and some reason they sold it to me at the gas station. I got pulled over, bro.
You're so cool.
And I thought he was pulling me over because he saw a kid smoking a cigar. I was speeding, and I got so panicked I went to hide the cigar, and it ashed and burned a hole in my seat in between my legs.
Your first
So
cigar.
my first cigar, yeah.
Nice.
But I wouldn't consider that my first cigar. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But so how old were you? I mean,
Oh.
are we outing you to your parents?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Finally, no, she found a cigar one time when I was about 16, 17. I got a little bit of trouble, but she jokes with me now that I'm the kid that she found a cigar hid when I was 16, and now I own a cigar shop.
What a rebellious, rebellious child. Yeah, that's hilarious. But we want to just talk about just some Cigar 101. And from time to time, not every episode, but from time to time, we want to give you some basics. Now, if you're a veteran, some of this is just going to seem really elementary, and that's okay because you even had to learn these things at some point. I remember years ago when I first started smoking cigars, I was embarrassed to ask questions. I was embarrassed to find out. But you know what? You have to learn somewhere. And in this day and age of information all over the place, sometimes it's hard to weed through all that and find out what's true and find out what are really good practices and not. And so we want to give you just some Cigar 101 today. And a couple of things that we want to talk about is selecting your first cigar and how to cut and light that first cigar. So when you go into a humidor, there's going to be a very large selection. I know I'm going to put you on the spot, Alan. Do you know how many facings are in your humidor right now?
I don't.
Take a guess. Take a guess. Because I know at our home shop, I know how many's in there, and it's way more than you would think.
Oh. 300?
At least, yeah. I bet in this shop you probably have closer to probably 700 is what I would guess.
Okay.
It would be my guess, and it's a wonderfully appointed humidor. And I mean, when you walk in and you see 700 or even just 300, 600, however many cigars, it's hard sometimes to pick that cigar. Guys, what are some of the things that you looked for when you were picking your first cigars?
Oh man.
Well, don't be afraid to ask advice, either from
Yeah.
a friend that does smoke cigars or the person at the store.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that's key. Don't be afraid to.
Yeah, usually the guy behind the counter knows what
Yeah.
they're doing. Yeah.
Because if you go in there and you pick the wrong one, you might be a little sick for a while.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the very first cigar I ever smoked was an H. Upmann Sun-Grown. And the reason I know that is because as I was walking through the humidor, I was looking for, from my perspective, it was whatever cigar had the neatest looking band on the cigar.
Mm-hmm.
I figured if they put that much craftsmanship into the band, then what did they do with the cigar?
Or Buddy Chris, I think that's what he does.
Yeah, I remember talking to him about that on Wednesday night. And so sometimes you're just looking for what's appealing to the eye. Depending on, like on this cigar that I'm smoking from Jake Wyatt, they've put a ton of work into making it look like a really neat cigar. And so sometimes your eye's just drawn to that kind of thing. But when you're picking a cigar, one of the things that you've got to look for just right off the bat is the quality of the stick. You want to pick out a cigar that's, your first cigar doesn't need to be a $30 or $40 cigar because you don't know what you're going to experience when you smoke that cigar for the first time. And so pick out a cigar that is maybe on the lower end. We're going to talk about budget sticks here in a couple episodes, but maybe on that lower end so that you can get used to the flavor of a cigar and what it does in the smoke in your mouth and how to handle that.
Not inhale.
Do not inhale that first cigar for sure, because it will definitely mess you up. That smoke will turn your stomach. But in your first pick, take advice from the tobacconist that's working behind the counter. Take advice from your friends that are already smoking, and just pick something. And here's my tip of the day. Here's what the tip that I want to give you on that first cigar. If you really enjoy that first cigar, keep the band. The band is the label that goes around the cigar. Take that band, put it in your wallet, because here's what's going to happen. The next time you go in the cigar lounge, cigar store to buy a cigar, you're not going to remember the name of that cigar. There are so many different types of sizes or vitolas that you got to remember. Is it a Robusto or a Toro or a whatever? And then you start looking at the different types when you're talking about Habano wrapper or Dominican filler. All these different things. You're not going to remember all those details for your first cigar. But what you can do is take that band and take it in and say, hey, I really enjoyed this cigar. Find me something like it, or do you have this specific cigar? And that gives you a good starting spot. If it's a cigar you don't like, take that band and throw it in the trash and find your next one when you have that next opportunity. And so picking out your first cigar, don't get too bent out of shape over it. Don't get too anxious. Don't, because you don't know what you're going to smoke.
Yeah.
Another tip is find something light. Pick something like the Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust Sobra Mesa, something that is a lighter cigar so that you're not overwhelmed by the thickness of the smoke and the flavor profile that could very well kind of set you off. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we mentioned earlier, asking the shop owner or the whoever's there tending the register at the lounge, they're your friend. They're there to help you out. They give advice all the time on, if this, hey, I'm buying my first cigar, what do you recommend? And they're going to have those in the back of their mind. Okay, this is a good place to start. I know with my first cigar, what I consider my first cigar, discounting the gas station Friday, was the Tabac from Drew Estate, which is a coffee infused cigar. It's got a little bit of flavor. I don't smoke those anymore, but it's not a bad
Good
stick.
starting point.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a very good place to start. It's a very mild cigar. It's got some flavor. I believe it has a sweet tip on it, which is kind of nice. It kind of gives you a little bit of a more taste to it that may help you to kind of break into the cigar world. But ask the shop owner or the keep, whoever is there, ask them what they recommend. And then if you find, as you were talking about, keep the band, as you want to venture out, ask, hey, what cigars are in this same range? What's something that's maybe a good step past this? I'm ready to go forward, and they can help you with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your first cigar?
Not counting
Not counting the gas station cigars. Those don't count.
He gave it to me, actually. It was Padron.
Oh,
It was a little strong.
Okay.
At the time, I didn't know this. But
Yeah.
I smoked the whole dang thing.
do
Probably
you remember which
fast.
Padron it was?
No, I do not.
Okay. See, that's the point, though. Is
I know.
that
Right.
first one, you remember the experience.
But I was
Yeah.
sick for a couple days.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, but that's a good starting spot as a Padron. So, Alan, other than a gas station cigar, what?
Other
you
than the
remember?
backwoods.
Yeah, other than
I mean,
backwoods,
those are
other than,
still
yeah.
top to top. Now, for a long time, and I think this is a good advice to beginners. Sometimes you walk into a humidor and you see these brands that have 15, 20 facings. You're like, okay, this must be what I want.
Right.
But don't discount those boutique brands.
Absolutely.
And that's where you talk
Yeah.
to the shop owner,
Yeah.
the guy working the counter. He's going to say, man, what are you drinking? Are you drinking coffee? What time of day is it? What do you like? He's going to ask you all these questions. He's asking for a reason. And it might take you to some boutique brand cigar, and it may be amazing. I know for years I was kind of stuck on, just you walk in and you kind of stick with the same thing. Kind of those basic
change.
brands.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to name any names because cigar, but I was playing golf with my buddy Mark Stripper. Great guy. Y'all know Mark.
Yeah. That's
Right?
a good dude.
So we're playing golf, and he breaks out this cigar called a Liga Privada. And I'm like, a Liga Privada? I'm trying
What is
to
this
pronounce
thing?
it.
Yeah.
And it had number 9, looked like he was written in cursive. I was like, what is this? You know what I mean? And I light that up, and oh my gosh, I was like, what is this?
Oh, yeah.
And it just changed, and I was like, that kind of started my journey of, man, I got to try more stuff. I got to go try this and that and that.
You could probably say that was a rebirth of cigars for you.
Yeah, that cigar, I remember that day.
Yeah.
So,
You catch the reference there. That's Drew Estate's
oh, there you go.
tagline.
Yeah.
It was on a Drew Estate cigar. Man, that fell flat. That's fun.
If you don't like your first cigar, don't get discouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be off for your palate.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Because there is such a wide variety of cigars. There's so many different cigars that you can smoke. If that first one, if you're really drawn to the cigar industry and you're really drawn to want to be a part of the community of cigar smoking, then don't be discouraged by that. There's something else, and even let your tobacconist know. If you come in and say, you know what, I smoked the Liga number 9, it wasn't for me, because that's a really strong cigar. I smoked that. Steer me away from that flavor profile. Steer me into a different direction, and the guys at the lounge at the shop will be able to help you do that if it's a good lounge, like here at 2nd Street. And so yeah, that's good. Thank you guys. That's always, for me, the stories of cigars is where it's at. The second thing we want to do in Cigar 101 today is talk about cutting and lighting that first cigar. after you've picked it out, after you've got that one cigar that you're going to start your cigar journey with, you've got to cut it and you've got to light it so that you can enjoy it. You can't just sit there. I see guys all the time, especially old gentlemen, and this isn't a shot at them, that they'll walk around with a cigar that's not lit and they'll just chew the end of that cigar and they love that. That's fine. That's not what we're about. We're about smoking cigars. And so you've got to take an opportunity. I'm going to set my cigar down here as we talk about this. The first thing you've got to do is cut your cigar. And there's a number of ways that you can cut your cigar. There's a lot of different cutters. We're going to just focus on a straight cut right now. And in a future episode, we're going to talk about all those different cutters and all the different types of lighters. But just going to go through them very quickly and basically right here. But you can take a straight cut or a V cut that we have that will do a V notch in the cigar. But a straight cut's probably the best way to go with your first cigar. And you want to take that cutter and just right on the head of the cigar, which is the side you'll put in your mouth, just right below above the shoulder where it rolls over, you want to take that straight cut and put as little of the cigar in that as possible, and just cut that just top cap off. Basically, a lot of cigars will have a double cap or a triple cap, and where you see that line of that top cap, that is the best place to set your cutter and cut it. And it's good to have a good sharp cutter so that it doesn't make a mess of your cigar. Now, once you've done that, you might notice that there's a little flaking or whatever. You can take that head that you just cut and rub it on the palm of your hand and get some of that flaking off if it's there. If it's not there, then you don't have to worry about it. And then once you have that lit, or once you have that cut, the best way to light one is first you want to take it and do a dry draw through that cigar so you kind of get that flavor profile and you get the understanding of that cigar. And then you take your lighter and you just do a little toast on the end of it. Now, you're not lighting it at this point. You're just putting a black sear on the end, the foot of your cigar. And Nikki D has been told a really neat fact about that.
I was told that actually helps seal the wrapper to the rest of it, and it basically gives you kind of a better burn, whether that's true or not.
Yeah, but I do know that it is better to toast one. It just gets that flavor kind of sealed in there, as you would say. Once you've got it toasted, you put it up to your mouth, and then it's kind of hard to talk and do this, so I'm just going to hold it in front of me. But you light it, and you want to keep the flame as far away from the cigar as possible. And this is going to sound counterintuitive, but heat is actually damaging to the cigar. So you want to keep the light as far away from it as possible, but just close enough to get the flame going on the cigar itself. And so as you got it in your mouth, I'm going to have it near my mouth so I can continue to talk, and you light it up, you want to keep that as far away from it as possible, and you want to rotate the cigar so that you get an even burn all the way around the edge of the cigar. There's nothing worse than a poorly lit cigar that burns uneven and starts to canoe or whatever. And so once you have that cigar lit, you kind of, for me, one of the first things I do is once I've got it lit, I pull it down, I look at it, and just kind of see if the red from that light is even. And I'll blow on the end of that cigar a little bit just to get it going. And then just take your time with that first cigar. Don't fast smoke it. Don't hotbox it, Nikki D. This guy will smoke a Toro cigar in 20 minutes.
I will not. I used to actually be a hotboxer.
Yeah.
I don't do that as much. I still am a pretty quick smoker, but I have learned to enjoy myself in smoking.
Absolutely. So yeah, take your time with it. You don't need to take a puff off the cigar, but maybe every 45 seconds to a minute. But have some good people with you, have good conversation, and just slowly enjoy that first cigar. It's a time for you to relax and slow down life and focus on the things that God wants you to focus on.
I wanted to add something to that. You were talking about uneven burn. Sometimes you get an uneven burn. Sometimes the cigar is not quite right. Sometimes the condition, especially if you're smoking outside and there's a breeze, sometimes the cigar will burn. And that's why it's important to have something you can do a touch-up with, and touch up that cigar to try to keep it as even as possible, so you don't end up with a sharp angle, because that's the worst.
It's always good to have a plethora of tools. We've talked about that in other episodes, and we'll continue to talk about it. As I was talking about lighting the cigar, we were talking about with a torch, but you have the opportunity of doing that as well with wood matches. Don't use a book of matches like you would see at a hotel lobby or something like that. Use wood matches. Even the longer ones I've got, our longer ones here are better because that gives you a little bit more burn. You get a better flavor. You don't get any contamination from any gas that maybe your lighter's using. But really the fun way, once you've lit your cigar or smoked a cigar a number of times. One of the fun ways is with what we call spills, and these are just little cedar pieces that your cigar boxes come with, usually a cedar sheet, and you can break them down into these spills. And you can light the spill and let it catch on fire, and then light your cigar with that spill, and it just adds a little bit more elegance to the lighting of a cigar, but it also adds that cedar flavor a little bit, and it makes it a little bit more pure experience.
Works really good on the backwoods too. So
Yeah, it works. Yeah, because I can see a guy with a backwoods cigar, and their cedar spill. It might actually be better just to go ahead and smoke the cedar, right?
But if you do it that way, then you have to keep your pinky up.
Yeah,
that's your spell.
and drink your white or your red wine with it or
That's
whatever.
correct,
Yeah, that's fine. Anything else you guys want to add to that? All right, very good, very good. Let's go ahead and dive into our study today. We're looking at a really amazing text, one of my favorite texts in the book of James, James chapter 3, and it's kind of interesting as we're talking about fire and lighting cigars that this is our text today. But starting in James chapter 3, verse 1, it says, "Not many of you should presume to be teachers, my brothers, because you know that you who teach will be judged more strictly." So often people get hung up on that first verse, but really the point that he's making is he's getting into these verses about taming the tongue. And he says, that those who teach will be judged more strictly. He says this, and I love this one verse. He says, "We all stumble in many ways." And I know for all of us four men up here, we're not perfect. I mean, Nicky D over here is about as close as anybody, but we all stumble in many ways. If any one of us is never at fault in what he says, he is a perfect man, able to keep his whole body in check. Now, that's the introduction to the text. And here's what's really important is, without saying this in too much of a tongue-in-cheek kind of way, this is very true, but you got to catch what he's saying, that all of us stumble in many ways, and if you're able to keep your say everything correctly, then you're a perfect man. He's saying you can't do that. We all stumble. We all make mistakes. But if you weren't able to do that, you'd be perfect, but you're not, because there's only one perfect man who ever lived. And then he says, here's how you get better at being more perfect in what you say, starting in verse 3. "When we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. Or take ships as an example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder, wherever the pilot wants to go. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue is also a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole person, sets the whole course of his life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. All kinds of animals, birds, and reptiles and creatures of the sea are being tamed and have been tamed by man, but no man can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil full of deadly poison. With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse men who have been made in God's likeness. Out of the same mouth come praising and cursing. My brothers, this should not be. Can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? My brothers, can a fig tree bear olives and a grapevine bear figs? Neither can a salt spring produce fresh water. And so you have this beautiful text that talks about our tongue, talks about the things we say, talks about the things that we talk about with those around us. And what's amazing about it is just this imagery, whether it's a bit in a horse's mouth or a rudder on a ship or just a spark, that the things that come out of our mouth can change the course of our lives. What are your thoughts, guys?
The tongue's a powerful weapon.
It is.
It is.
You can use it to hurt somebody. You can use it to lift somebody up. Or I've done both. I think we've probably all done both.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think the Bible talks about that a lot. As far as controlling what we say, what we do, our actions towards others, even toward ourselves. I think it's probably the hardest things that we deal with is controlling the tongue.
Yeah, I think too often we say things boastfully, or arrogance or pride comes out in the things that we say, and we get kind of trapped because now you got to back it up. You start talking big. You puff your chest out and you start saying things that maybe at that point you can't back up, and it's the kind of fake it till you make it, for some of us. And you start talking yourself into a hole, and then what do you do with that? And you steered your life in a direction that's difficult. The tongue is a very powerful thing. But here's what's awesome. We're talking about it negatively right now. But what does he say? Out of the mouth come both cursing of men, but what else? Blessing and praising of God.
Yeah.
I love that because we have a choice. Each one of us have a choice every single day.
Weapon to use for good as well.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, I think all of us are gun guys up here, and I don't want to get too much into those weeds on the channel. But our tongue is like a pistol. It's like any other tool. It's what we do with it that matters. A gun can be a very dangerous, a very horrible thing, but it can also be a very amazing thing to protect and to redeem and to save life. And our tongue's the same way. I could say some things right now, and we would all leave here with our feelings hurt and upset. Or I could choose to say things that build each other up and that bring each other up and encourage each other and make us better as we leave this place.
Yeah. And if you think about it, I mean, the most powerful thing that you can do is in the tongue, in that witnessing about Jesus Christ and what he did, to the lost. I mean, how much more powerful can you get than that?
Yeah. And as a pastor, there's been times where I've gotten upset, and I've said some things, I've done some things, mostly said some things that just really backed me, into a corner. And then I leave and I go, you know what? I just ruined any opportunity to witness to that person, because now they're going to remember what I just said to them. Whether I'm not someone who cusses a lot, but maybe I cussed somebody out or I yelled at somebody, and now I'm just sitting there thinking I can't out of the same mouth tell them about Jesus and it'd be credible. And that's a harmful thing. That's a hard thing to get behind. So, other thoughts?
You have that memory. I mean, you were like 15 years old and you said something and you still remember it.
Yes.
And you're just like,
yes.
God,
What you want to confess, Alan?
No. And you still just, God, I can't believe I said that. I was a stupid 10-year-old, whatever, however old you were. I was a stupid 35-year-old. Whatever it is, you just, sometimes stuff comes out and it's tough. And you're right. Once some things come out, how do I turn that around?
Uh-huh.
How do I now, try to be positive or in a way, I've already kind of set the tone and I've already kind of put this image of myself in this person's mind. How am I gonna, redeem myself? I don't know if that makes sense. But
No, it does. Absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
Also,
Go ahead.
Also reminds me of James 1:19. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Process
important.
before you speak.
Yeah.
2 ears, 1 mouth.
Yeah. Was it Mark Twain that said it's better to be thought a fool than open your mouth and remove all doubt?
Yeah.
I love that. So, guys, in the comments, let us know what you think about this text. We're not trying to out you. We're not trying to get you to confess a whole bunch of stuff in the comments, but talk about this. Maybe there is a time where the words that came out of your mouth were harmful, and maybe you've got some tips for us so that we can know what to do when our tongue gets out of control and how to restore that and how to connect. I know I went to a conference a number of years ago with some other pastors, and one of the things they said about this same subject was about building trust within the staff of a company or a church or anything. They said that for every negative word that is said, it takes, I can't remember the number, but I think it was 19 positive words to replace that one negative word. And that's huge. I mean, that takes a long time to rebuild that. And so maybe you got some tips for us like that that you can leave in the comments. This is just such a powerful text. I love it, guys. So how are those cigars, guys? How are they doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Exceptional.
Exceptional? Is that a phenomenal cigar?
We talked about it earlier.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit more about it now
This
that
is a new
you...
release a couple weeks ago. It's an EP Carrillo, Encore Black. They did a original Encore years and years ago. It was 2018 Cigar of the Year, 96 rating. This one just come out, and I'm pretty impressed. It's really good.
Yeah.
I'll definitely buy a lot more.
Yeah, excellent. How's yours doing?
Mine's doing well, but in talking about new releases, I have a new release that's coming out, or has come out. That's the Espinosa La Bamba Warhead 10.
Yes.
Yeah, that's coming out. I think it's in pre-order now with lounges, but I believe the plan for them is to release it to PCA.
Yeah. And as of the date of us filming this, PCA is just around the corner. What, 2 weeks away?
Yeah.
2 weeks away.
Yeah.
So we're excited to see what comes out from that. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You're a fan of the La Bamba line.
I do.
Yeah.
I to be honest with you, I love all the Espinosas. I don't think I've had an Espinosa that I haven't cared for. But the Warheads are definitely a special place in my heart for the Warheads. They are limited every year. They come out with them every year. This is the 10th release, and I'm looking forward to see what they're excited about it.
Really cool looking box too. If you haven't seen the box, just Google it after you get done with this video. Don't stop watching the video, but Google it after you get done with this video. It's a cool box shaped like a bomb. So anything exciting that's coming out that you're aware of? Are you going to PCA?
Going.
You're going to PCA. So
first time.
PCA.
Yeah, never been. Really excited.
Very good.
Yep.
Very good.
I've never been to Las Vegas.
Never been.
Wow.
This
Never been to
is
Las
gonna be fun.
Vegas.
This is going to be a fun trip.
Yeah.
Very good. And we're hoping to be able to in the next couple of years take Cigar Church to PCA and as a media outlet. So we're excited about that. Jake Wyatt that I'm smoking, they've got one that's come out called Icarus. Don't know a whole lot about it. It is a Tennessee fire cured is what they call it. Just really excited to see what that is. I know that others have done like the Kentucky fire cure from Drew Estates. Not necessarily one of my favorite cigars. I've smoked it a number of times and have enjoyed it some, but you start getting into some of those unique flavors that you see in cigars there. But I'm really excited to see what that Icarus is like. Like I said, Jake Wyatt's put out so many great cigars. Hopefully that will be a good one. So I'm glad you guys are enjoying your cigars, and thank you for joining us and being a part of Cigar Church with us today. And as we like to say, enjoy a fine cigar to the glory of God.
See you next time.
See you next week. Hey, this is Clay, Dan, and Steve with Cigar Church, and we're excited that you've joined us for our first few episodes. We're looking forward to where this is going and the things that we're going to be able to do, the ministry that we're going to be able to accomplish through this channel.
Yeah, and if you like the channel, don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon to be notified when new videos drop.
And if you got any prayer requests, please comment below. We'd love to pray for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. But we want to do something. If you are in the Oklahoma City area, we want to invite you to join us on March 24th and March 31st. That's Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday. To join us here in our lounge, our home lounge of Omerta Cigar Company on the south side of Oklahoma City. We're going to do what we're going to call Cigar Church Live at 9 a.m. both of those mornings. We're going to meet right here. We're going to celebrate Jesus. We're going to have a Bible study in person. We're going to do a little bit of worship, and we're going to enjoy a couple of cigars to the glory of God. And so would you join us on March 24th and 31st? And let's just have a good time enjoying a fine cigar to the glory of God.